What's up, everybody? Charlie here. Today I'm going to be talking about Power Rangers Dino Charge Episode 3, A Fool's Hour. So, this is the third episode. It came out Saturday. And I enjoyed this episode. I liked it. And I like how... let me just say what happened in the episode first. So, what happened in the episode was, Sledge, the main bad guy, my boy, goes to Earth, and he's like, yo, Keeper and Power Rangers. He talks to them and, confronts them with all of his guys behind him. He's like, give me the Energems now. And the Power Rangers like, no, you're not going to get me the Energems. And they're like, he's like, Sledge is like, okay, well, I'll give you an hour. If you don't, I'll destroy everything. That's a boy. That's a definition of my boy. Destroys everything in 1 hour if you don't give me the Energems. That's what he tells them. And they're like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. So they go, they leave, and then Tyler and the Rangers go, and they're walking, but then Tyler overhears that the bad guys are gonna follow them to where they stay so they can attack them. Red Ranger's like, no. So he fights Fury. Yeah, he fights Fury. He fights Fury, and then Sledge is like, they're not giving me the Energems. I'm gonna send one of my monsters. I knew this. I thought it was gonna be from episode 2. But actually, it's from episode 3. I was sort of right, because I said my prediction for episode 3, right, was similar to what my prediction was for episode 2. Oh yeah, and I'll be doing my prediction for episode 4 after this, after this review. And then, so he sends down a monster. That's one of the capture monsters because he's a bounty hunter, and I knew that. I knew he was going to do that. I knew that they had all those bad guys just so he could do something with them. I knew those were going to be all the guys he's going to send. And he sends one of them down, and I'm like, my boy, I'm correct. And then he's like, here, fight. And he's like, okay. And he fights the Rangers, and the Rangers fight him and defeat him, but then he grows. And then you get the boys. You get the Megazord. Love how they're taking their time with this show. I love how they're not throwing everything in your face in 3 seconds, This is really good. And then you see the Megazords. The Megazords are there. And then they transform, and they combine. You see, I forget what the Megazord is called. I'm just going to call it the Megazord. And they fight the monster that's super tall. And they defeat him, and they win. And it's all a happy ending. And they're like, yeah. But then my boy Sledge is like, nope, it's not the end. I love that. So that's what happened in the episode. I really love how they're taking their time. They just released the Megazord. They showed the Megazord in episode 3. Usually they do it in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. Samurai, Super Samurai, Megaforce, Super Megaforce. Anyhow, but I love how they're taking their time, and they're like, yo, you gotta find the other 5 Energems. They're taking their time. They're setting up. They know where the show's going, obviously, because they're making the show. They probably have seen Kyuger. They know that there's more Rangers. I always say that. And then they're like, yo, you got to get crystals. The Energems. And then Sledge, his army and everything wants them too. So, that's that. So that episode was called A Fool's Hour. And I think that's a really cool title. A Fool's Hour. Because it was an hour that Sledge gave them. And I think that's just a name of, it sounds like a name of a movie. I know it's probably not. It sounds like you can make that into a movie title, A Fool's Hour. That would be interesting. That's a cool title. I never really liked Power Ranger episode names. You got Past, Present, and Fusion for episode 2, and you got got powers from the past. But I mean, those weren't. And the next one's called Return of the Caveman, which is pretty cool. But I mean, none of them like are intriguing. You know, they're just like, okay. But then A Fool's Hour, that's pretty tight. You know, that's a pretty cool title. All right, enough with the title. What am I gonna say? Oh yeah, so the episode. Again, I'm repeating myself again. I love how they're taking this time with this show. You know. Do I think it's better than the second episode? I'd say they're probably at the same, you know. It's not as good. I mean, it is as good, but it's not better. You know what I'm saying? But it's not bad. So the order is like, for me, the first episode is the one at the bottom, and the second and third are both in second place. So, I mean, first place, sort of, because those are the best ones. So and we see Coda, and he's like a caveman because he's living in the cave, and he explains to them. He's like, I'm from dinosaur times and stuff like that. Not dinosaur times, from like thousands of years ago when cavemen were around. And he's like, I got the energem, and I haven't aged since. And he tells them that they're not gonna age, you know. That's pretty tight. They're kind of like unageable, because they have the energems now. So, but that got me thinking, you know, I saw somebody say this too on something I read about Power Rangers of this episode. And they're like saying that, you know, what happens if they want to have like a team up with that Ranger in their old now? It's like, what? Yeah, I got that from a comment on a Ranger review of this episode, and then got me thinking that too, you know. I was like, what would happen? You know, I don't know. Maybe they can say, hasn't worked fully. Maybe they can be like, we've aged 5 billion years, and we just aged a little bit, because who knows. But I think that's a cool concept, how they can't age. I think that's a cool concept. And so yeah, this is a really good. I love the Megazord. The Megazord is so cool looking. It's so cool, and I like how there's only 3, and then they can switch back and forth to get their new Megazord. You know, with the black and the green, they can interchange to get their Megazord. But the standard is blue, pink, and red. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that's not just Power Rangers Dino Charge that made that. That's Kyryuger, but you know, it works in this show. It makes sense. I think it's pretty cool. So, for my prediction of the next one, which is Return of the Caveman. What do I think is gonna happen? It's Return of the Caveman, so it's probably about Coda. You know, I don't know, Return of the Caveman, with that title alone, what do I think is going to happen? I think it'll be a Coda-centric episode. It'll be about the Blue Ranger, and then maybe Sledge sends one of his monsters that knows Coda, maybe, and then they have to fight the monster, Coda. It'll be like, maybe he'll be like the main character of that episode. I don't know, who knows, but it seems like that's a possibility, because Return of the Caveman, it also says Return. So does that mean one of the monsters could have been a caveman and then returns back to Earth, and then Coda has to fight him? Who knows? They were around Earth at that time. Actually, they blew up. I don't know. But it says caveman, so obviously I think of Coda when I think of caveman, because, you know, he is a caveman in the show. So that's coming out on the 28th. So be watching that. I'll be reviewing that. You know, in my next episode, episode 4 review, I'll be doing my episode 5 predictions, just like how this episode I did episode 3 and predictions for episode 4. And yeah, overall, this is a really good series. This is super good. Power Rangers. I finally like Power Rangers again. Like, I've obviously I've always loved Power Rangers, but, you know, Samurai and Mega Force, they didn't do it for me. You know, I didn't like them that much. But this I can watch. Dino Charge. It's pretty sick. That is pretty sick. So anyway, that's my review. You can subscribe to watch, to know that I got more reviews coming, or more reviews are out, I should say. You can like this if you like the review. You can comment if you want to say something, you know. Do all that. And so yeah, I'll see you next time when I review episode 4, Power Rangers Dino Charge episode 4, Return of the King. Yeah, Return of the King. Return of the Caveman, with my episode 5 prediction and thoughts. Episode 4 review, episode 5 prediction and thoughts. And that'll be next time when I see you. So again, subscribe, like, comment, whatever. And I'll see you next time when I do my next review. So